Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we're diving into geobiology, and it's a topic that's going to flip the script on how you think about our planet. See, we always talk about how Earth created life, right? But what if I told you the real story is how life created the Earth we know today?
So to really get into this, let's kick things off with a huge question. What if the planet itself is alive? Seriously, what if we just stopped seeing Earth as, a big dead rock that happens to have some life sprinkled on top and started seeing the whole thing as one single, gigantic living system?
All right, so let's jump right into that idea, a living planet. We're not talking about Earth as just a stage for life to happen on. No, we're talking about a single, interacting system where biology and geology are locked in this constant, incredible dance. And that brings us to the core of it all. Geobiology. It's not just biology and it's not just geology. It's that amazing space right in the middle. It's where the living world and the physical world crash into each other, interact, and totally reshape one another.
So when we talk about this, we're really talking about the biosphere system. It's everything that's alive. The biosphere is all of it. And within that, you've got these ecosystems, right? Which are basically communities of life and the physical place they live in. The key thing to get here is that all these pieces, the life, the rocks, the air, the water, they're all working together. It's this incredible, balanced, interactive system.
Okay, so who's really running the show here? Who are the main drivers behind these massive, planet-wide changes? Well, the answer might surprise you. Let's meet the real engineers of our planet, nature's tiny chemists. Seriously? Forget everything you think of when you hear powerful life. Forget the lions, the whales, the giant redwoods. The most powerful, world-changing life on this entire planet is totally invisible. Yep, we're talking about microbes, bacteria, algae, all those single-celled powerhouses. They are, without a doubt, the most diverse and widespread group of organisms on Earth. They were here billions of years before we were, and they've been busy engineering our planet's environment that entire time.
And just look at how tough these things are. This is where it gets really wild. We're talking about extremophiles, microbes that don't just survive but actually thrive in places that would kill us instantly. You've got thermophiles, the heat lovers, hanging out in volcanic vents. Acidophiles, loving it in pools of acid. Halophiles that flourish in water so salty it's basically solid. And then there are anaerobes, which don't even need oxygen to live. It's just incredible. Their resilience is off the charts.
But here's the thing. They aren't just sitting around surviving in these crazy places. They're working. They're the tiny engines driving the planet's entire recycling system. Think of it like a global circulatory system, pumping the essential ingredients for life all around the planet.
And this process has a fancy name, of course, a biogeochemical cycle. I know, it sounds super complicated, but it's not. Just break it down. Bio for life, geo for the Earth. It's simply the path that a chemical element, like carbon or phosphorus, takes as it moves between the living and non-living parts of our world.
Let's make this real with an example. Take phosphorus. Step 1. Tectonic forces push up rock that's full of phosphate. Then wind and rain start breaking that rock down. Step 2. Plants suck that phosphorus up from the soil. And then, of course, animals eat the plants. Step 3. When those plants and animals die, what happens? Decomposers, our microbial friends again, break them down and return that phosphorus right back to the soil. And finally, step 4. Rainwater washes some of it into the ocean, where it sinks, becomes sediment, and eventually forms new rock, millions of years later. The cycle is complete. And you can see how life isn't just a passenger, it's the engine at pretty much every single step.
Okay, so microbes are basically the planet's recycling crew. Got it. But their impact goes so much deeper than that. We're talking about an influence on a planetary scale. Over billions of years, they didn't just live in the world. They completely rewrote the rules. They literally terraformed our planet from the ground up.
And get this, the very first major evidence we have for life on Earth isn't some tiny fossil of a single cell. Nope, it's a whole structure, a macrostructure. These things called stromatolites. They're basically living rocks. These layered mounds built by huge communities of microbes over thousands and thousands of years. They're like ancient cities built by bacteria, a physical monument to their incredible power.
This timeline really helps you grasp the scale we're talking about. Look at that. For 3.5 billion years, it was a microbial world. They had the whole planet to themselves. And in all that time, they were busy setting the stage for absolutely everything that came later, including maybe the most dramatic makeover this planet has ever seen.
And that brings us to the Great Oxygenation Event. This was, hands down, the single biggest way life has ever changed this planet. Around 2.4 billion years ago, a type of microbe called cyanobacteria figured out a new trick: photosynthesis. And their waste product? It was a toxic, highly reactive gas called oxygen. For the anaerobic life that dominated Earth, this was a catastrophe, a poison that wiped many of them out. But for the future, it paved the way for all complex air-breathing life. Yeah, that includes us. Tiny little microbes literally gave us the air we breathe.
So, wrapping your head around the fact that life completely remade our planet, well, that has some pretty huge implications. It changes how we see our own place in the cosmos, and it gives us a completely new set of tools to try and answer what might be the biggest question we can ask: are we alone?
You know, when scientists look for life on other planets, they usually start with something called the habitable zone. You probably heard of it. It's that Goldilocks region around a star. Not too hot, not too cold, just right for liquid water to exist on the surface. And that's super important. But what geobiology teaches us is that's just the beginning of the story.
So of course, we're looking at planets in those zones around other stars. We're looking at places right here in our solar system, like Mars. But think back to those extremophiles we talked about. They completely change the game, don't they? Could life exist deep under the ice of Jupiter's moon Europa, huddled around volcanic vents, just like the anaerobes here on Earth? It makes you realize life doesn't need a paradise to get started, it just needs a little foothold.
And really, that's the crucial point. This whole field of geobiology isn't just a history lesson about ancient Earth. It's our playbook for the future. It's how we search for life anywhere else. Because by understanding the incredibly intricate dance between life and a planet here, we learn exactly what to look for out there. We know what kind of chemical fingerprints, what kind of atmospheric signatures life might leave behind on a completely different world.
Which leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending question to chew on. Our whole search for life is based on life as we know it, right? Carbon-based, needs water. But what if it's not? What if life out there is fundamentally totally different? I mean, if a giraffe made of silicon and circuits just strolled past the Mars rover, how would we even know it was alive? What tests would we run? That's the kind of deep question that geobiology is preparing us to answer. Thanks for joining me on this.